Not yet.
It was like it was.
Good evening, everyone. This is the City of Dania Beach CRA meeting on July 8th. It is 6:00 p.m. and I call this meeting to order. City Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Chair Davis.
Here.
Vice Chair Salvino.
Here.
Board Member Llewellyn.
Here.
Board Member Romoli.
Here.
Board Member Ryan.
Here.
Executive Director Candido Sosa Cruz.
Here.
City Attorney Bootsas.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much, City Clerk. Next up, we have the citizens' comments. Do we have any comments from the citizens? Seeing none, we will move on to our administrative reports. Director Chen.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and board members. This past month, I spent some time going back and doing some back checking with our existing facade grant programs. I visited 4 properties to see the progress of their work. At 24 Northeast 1st Avenue, which is a strip center kind of tucked in behind the Celeste Hotel apartment buildings. This grant was only for replacement of windows. They're doing a more extensive project. Their windows are almost done, and they're probably only maybe 30, 45 days away from billing us for the funding on the grant program. 102 North Federal Highway. This is the ornamental iron shop, as is commonly known. This again is a very substantial rehab of the building, both inside and out. So there's a lot of moving parts to it as he goes. The electrical work and plumbing work has been done. This is being done both inside and out to serve the needs of the future use of that building. And I will also remind you that in April, I brought this to you and you extended the deadlines associated with this facade grant to accommodate him for some of the program getting a little bit of a late start due to some health issues of the owner. 250 South Federal Highway. This is the Gasper Arts building. This grant was just for the signage at Federal Highway. The sign is there. It looks really nice. It'll be nice when he finally gets it electrified. He still is working on that. And he thinks the electrification will happen, that all the electrical work will be done probably within the next 30 days or so. And then 225 Southwest 2nd Terrace. This is the laundromat just on the southeast corner of Sterling Road and 2nd Terrace, Southwest 2nd Terrace. That was a facade grant, again, for a lot of upgrades, including painting the building, a dumpster enclosure, signage, paving, parking lot improvements. It was a fairly mixed bag of projects. That project is just about completed. He's looking for some final inspections on his permits, and then he'll be in a position to submit a request for the funding of that award. For the home beautification program, just a brief summary of the bring you up to date on that. Total number of programs completed as of mid-June was 29 houses. Remind you that contract is for 40 houses, so they're beyond halfway mark on completing their contract. The number of homes that have improved and are in line for service are an additional 13 properties. And they are currently vetting and for qualification in an additional 5 to 6 homes right now. But they're well on schedule to meet the contract for the fiscal year. The Safe at Home program, this is a new program with Rebuilding Together. As of mid-June, they had completed 10 homes. They have 15 homes that have been approved and are in line for service. It's being scheduled for a day that everybody can be there so they can go in and complete the work. And they've got over 25 homes in the process of being vetted for qualification. So that is another program that is seems to be running very much on time, and I expect we'll be able to fund all the monies associated with it for the fiscal year. In terms of economic development initiatives, I will remind you that some time ago I talked to you about the Sheridan 4 Points on Sterling Road. I've had follow-up conversations with them. We have actually had initial meetings and conversations with the Dania Beach Casino so that we can set up the events. The idea of this is that the casino is looking to attract more customers, both local as well as visitors. And so they want to make sure that the hotel operators are aware of what's going on inside the casino. Their dining opportunities, their entertainment programs, as well as their gambling. So what they're doing is they're going to be setting up 2 events to invite the general manager, director of sales, concierge, and porters to visit the casino and learn about what's going on there so that they'll have better knowledge and can refer their guests to the casino for visits. I had also, in the March CRA meeting, advised you that I had initial contact with the Guy Harvey Foundation. As part of the process of that, going through I guess, more formal channel, their proposal has been discussed with and presented to the Public Arts Advisory Board. The advisory board seemed to receive the information enthusiastically. However, there's a lot of questions, as there was, because this is very preliminary at this point. Questions ranging from what kind of art would it be, and also, is there a lock on the location being proposed? I mentioned to you at the time that I initiated this conversation based on a wall to be built with the downtown vision plan that would be along the 100 block of Northwest 1st Avenue. It would separate a park space from the Fire Station 1 activities to keep people safe and isolate them from what goes on at the fire station. That wall is 6 feet tall and 95 feet wide. And the question is that the appropriate place if, in fact, the Guy Harvey mural is right for downtown? I can tell you in a follow-up conversation with the foundation, having conveyed to them the discussion from the Arts Board, the Guy Harvey Foundation is very flexible as to what they can design and produce for us. Everything from marine life to wetlands and native habitations, that type of stuff. Since there was some discussion about that site having some historic presence to it, that actually was, the foundation found that to be very exciting because one of Guy Harvey's things, he likes to do some of the original native habitat type art. And I think that when we get back with the Arts Board and the Guy Harvey Foundation will join us for the next Arts Board meeting, they will bring some samples of the range of work that he does, as well as have an interest to discuss what the Arts Board would be interested, as well as discuss a possible different location if that's where they want to do. The South Florida Community Land Trust, last month I advised you that they are beginning what they call their Blue Sky program. This is a very important missing piece of an affordable housing program. Affordable housing saves money on the cost of the housing, but it doesn't do anything to build family net worth. And in fact, it's quite the contrary. There's a challenge with affordable housing because almost all affordable housing has to be subsidized in some way. For the most part, for the city of Dania Beach, if it's a CRA-owned piece of land, we will donate the piece of land to be built. But when we do that, we restrict the affordability that has to be continued for at least 30 years. Some other sources of funding and subsidies go for as long as 50 years. And in the United States, the typical family household income, the net worth of the family is predominantly in the cost and the value of their housing. So when you restrict the growth of that value, you restrict that family from appreciating net worth within its family. And you're satisfying their current housing needs, but you're never moving them beyond the need for affordable housing. So the Blue Sky program is to actually help them understand how to develop family net worth and to actually use the savings from their housing to work with it, perhaps start family businesses and so forth. And so there's a number of programs that will be worked with that. Since you approved for them to use City Hall for their meetings and so forth, I've had those conversations with them. We're starting to work with them. I've introduced them to some of my agency partners, such as CareerSource, SCORE, and others that will help work with them to design the programs they want to actually affect this idea of accruing and developing household net worth in addition to their affordable housing programs. So that is making progress since we talked the last time. The patch, I usually start with programming, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently tonight. In terms of general operations for the month, the patch harvested 545 pounds of produce. I will admit to you, a lot of that weight is because of coconuts. This is coconut season, and guess what? Coconuts weigh more than lettuce. We're going into summer months, and the number of vegetable crops that will grow in Florida in the summer months are very limited. So this is kind of our dry period. It's them getting a chance to prepare for the fall planting season where we go and that's when we get the prolific crops that we're looking for. For their summer schedule of 2025, they will continue the sale of available seasonal vegetables and herb products. They're continuing to run volunteer days. They want to keep the volunteer pool going. I can tell you that even the volunteer pool shrinks during the summertime. Spirit Airlines, for instance, will not send their volunteers during the summer because it's just too hot for them to work. For their upcoming fall and winter season, in October, the patch will run a kickoff season with an open house and plant sale and kind of re-celebrate the new growing season that's happening in Florida. In July, they had the Independence Day celebration. They were closed for Independence Day, recognizing the holiday. The Dan Marino Foundation continues to bring its volunteers to the patch. The Dan Marino Foundation volunteers a little bit different. It is actually part of their teaching and therapy of the people that they're trying to train for careers. Their work at the patch is part of that career training. So it's not just the volunteer opportunity, it's actually a mutually beneficial program with Dan Marino. Camp Live Oak Teens Camp is on July 17th. They are bringing a group of 14 children to volunteer with gardening. In August, the Dan Marino Foundation will continue to bring their volunteers. And by the way, They're bringing volunteers about every Tuesday, and their groups run from 10 to 15 people. And in September, as we get into Labor Day, the patch will be closed for the holiday. Again, Dan Moreno is a regular visitor and co-programming with the patch. They're going to restart the C.W. Thomas after-school program on Wednesdays, bringing the school kids to the patch after school. And that's worked with Parks and Rec. And with that, that's my part of the admin report.
Thank you so much, Director Chin, for that report. I know I was one who had some concerns about the Guy Harvey piece and where it was going to be placed with this wall because of the historical area that was being proposed. So I am interested to see, what they can do, but he is known obviously for his marine life, but if they have other options available, that would be of interest as well. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and as long as we're looking at other possible locations, and if you can ask them to look and see what they would consider a possible location as well. So I just wanted to, bring that out there, and I'm glad what you're doing with the Florida Housing Trust, or the community, what is it? The South Florida Community Land Trust Blue Skylit program is very important, and I'm glad to see that the patch is doing more than just having groups of people participate, but also going in and having career training for their students. So thank you for your report, and I have a comment or question from Board Member Ramoli.
Hi, Director Chen, how are you?
Yes.
Question about the facade improvements. The 4 that you listed here, what were the totals for each of the owners? And did they max the matching funds?
Yes, the Casper Arts was a little bit below the maximum. I think they ended up at about 19,000. The remaining 3 are fully maxed out at 25,000 for the applications.
Okay.
Now, the way we pay it is we have the commitment up to 25,000, but when they look for funding, they have to send us the paid receipts that are marked paid by the vendor, and we pay 50% of the actual paid receipts. So if they get a savings or something along the way, we don't fund the full amount.
Right. So in essence, they can do $200,000 worth of improvements. The max they're going to get from us is 25.
That's correct.
Right. So do we have a total on what their investment was in each of their properties, or does do we even ask that question?
It is part of their application. They have to show the entire amount of their rehab project.
Yeah.
And offset it by number 1, what their request for the grant funds are, and number 2, they have to commit that the funding for the balance is available to them and will be paid by them.
Okay, great. If you can just get to me at whatever time, it's not a big hurry, the totals, I would appreciate that.
Sure.
I don't need to have them today. On the casino site visits that are going to be, I guess the hotels that they're going to ask to do some site visits at the casino, could you put us on an email list with that, or let us know what those dates and times are in case we want to attend those or be part of that?
Sure. That is being coordinated between the casino and Visit Florida. This is an ideal partnership with them because Visit Florida has all the hotels already in the connection. And in fact, one of the first things they're going to do is Visit Florida is going to send the casino a list of all the hotels and their contacts in Dania Beach.
All right, so they're not going to tell us what those dates are, or we're not going to know?
Well, it's the dates haven't yet been set because they need to get an idea of where the hotels are and what they see in terms of relieving their staff so that they can spend a couple hours at the casino.
If you can get with Arnaldo over there and ask him what those dates are once they get them, I'd appreciate that. We'd like to.
I will let you know as soon as we get definition to it.
And on the patch with the summer crops, are we saying we're not planting any summer crops? Or
No, we do plant summer crops, but it's things like squashes, eggplant, that type of thing.
Right.
Those are the types of
so you have
crops that grow in
okra,
the
you have sweet
summertime.
potatoes, you have those peppers, things like that would
Hot
grow in the summer.
peppers are also that, yeah. But the lettuces, the kale, that type of stuff
Right.
doesn't grow well in the summer.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Ramoli. Thank you, Director Chin. And at this time, we will move on to our presentations. Executive Director Sosa Cruz, would you like to do the introductions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Candido Sosa Cruz, Executive Director. Chair, in regards to the Guy Harvey, our, our, our consultant is also looking at locations throughout the city because she also understands that this is more of a historical site. So she's working with Eleanor and she'll be working with Michael on finding alternative options regardless of what they present throughout the city to see where is the best place.
Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
As far as our first presentation, I'm very excited for this presentation because this pretty much highlights what we constantly preach out here, which is supporting community partners, helping community partners, being more in the community. And I'm proud to present Bianca from the Patch and Noah with Fruitful Field and their collaboration with Collins Elementary School and how they were able to help the principal and in turn help the students with their community garden at the elementary school. So Noah, Bianca, if you could come up, describe a little bit of how the work you did and how it resulted for Collins Elementary. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Put the mic down a little bit for you. There you go.
Yes. Patch Garden has an excellent relationship with Collins Elementary School, and always Patch Garden is available to support any organization from our neighborhood. In this situation, Fruitfield Farm installed a new irrigation system in the Collins Elementary School, and Noah is going to explain how was his work.
Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you. So we started working with Collins about a month into our management with the Patch, and initially when we got there, their food forest garden was really overgrown and undermanaged, and the irrigation system was not working at all. Super important for when you're in a dry spell. We had a crazy drought this year. So we partnered with writing a grant with the school so that we could cover the cost of an irrigation system. And we applied and we got it. And super easy. The Fruitful Field team just went in, took 2 days, and we redid the whole irrigation system. So now it's on a timer, and none of the staff have to worry about, is it getting watered? It's on an electrical timer, and it gets watered every part of it. And that led to another really awesome event, the Florida Crunch event, which was about a month later, with UF, IFIS, nutrition, family nutrition education. And we partnered with them to do the Crunch, which is basically showing and feeding different types of produce to youth, exposing the new foods. And we did all local fruits that were in season at the Fruitful Field and at the Patch, and they tried really cool stuff, lychee and dragon fruit. So that partnership kind of is keep building, and it has also led to a future field trip with Collins Elementary School at the Patch.
Thank you, Noah.
Fantastic news.
And also, Noah, the Patch had a great relationship with the former principal, and we have a current great relationship with the new principal. So we expect this relationship to continue ongoing for Collins Elementary, the Patch, and Fruitful Field.
Thank you. Thank you, Noah and Bianca. That is fantastic news. Thank you for working hard. Those grants are not easy to get, so it just speaks to the collaboration. Thank you, Executive Director. Thank you both for working together to improve our community. Greatly, greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this second presentation is a follow-up to the last board meeting in which we discussed RMA and how the city was finalizing an agreement with RMA to do an operational analysis. Today, RMA is here. Kim and Lorena is here from RMA to do a brief presentation to introduce their company and pretty much to go over what the operational analysis consists of for the CRA.
Thank you. She pulled the mic down for me, fortunately. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. This is an exciting part of our process where we get to come in, talk to you all about where you want to go, set the expectations very high, deliver, and then at the end, hopefully set you on a course that we all look back and say that was a really, really good process that we went through, but that you can quantify and qualify the success of it. So my goal today in talking to you is to really talk through not what we've done and successes. We're going to do a little of that so you know who we are. But more important is talk to you about how we do what we do, because a lot of it will depend on you, getting the information from you, the feedback from you, and really making sure that we are getting the information that we need to be able to set the direction where you're going to go. Yes, this is up. I just have a very, very brief overview of our firm. I invite you all to visit our website. RMA is a specialized redevelopment/economic redevelopment firm. What we really try to focus on is what particular issues is a city focused having, and we are a niche firm in that we will look for the things that you have within your city to try to address changing where you are and getting you to where you want to go. Our team, Chris Brown, many of you can know his work if you've ever visited the city of Delray Beach. That's probably one of the most successful redevelopment programs in the state of Florida, if not in our nation. And that didn't happen by accident. You know, Chris is a veteran redevelopment professional. He's been in the business a very long time, and there are some key foundational things that made Delray Beach move from where it was back in the 90s to what we all look at today and say, wow, that was successful. It didn't happen by accident, and that's, again, not where we're at, because obviously you have made some great progress here, but those, again, are the important nuances of what our firm does, is lay that foundation for you, talk through them with you, and really help you get there. Our team, for you all, we have a firm of about 20 people, but our firm for your project is going to include Lorena Ledesma. She's going to be your project manager. She'll be on site all the time. You'll see her all the time. She's very accessible. And then Chris and I, of course, will be there to assist her. We're also going to have Sharon McCormick. Sharon is a very talented marketing director. She is incredibly talented when it comes to finding niches that have to do with telling your story, communication, branding, etc. Because it's one thing to identify yourself as a city, but one of the things we're going to be looking at and making higher level recommendations is how to convey that. And then Lynn Dellinger is our economic analyst, because some of what we're going to be doing has to do with economics. So our firm offers a lot of services, but in general, and again, I'm not going to read all of these, each one of these categories, for the most part, are going to touch your project. We are going to spend a lot of attention on your plans and redevelopment plans, where you've been, where you're going. We're going to look at opportunities for improvement districts. There's all kinds of market analysis that's done. I just mentioned Sharon and communications and branding, but real estate and private financing. Everything having to do with what makes a city make money and make sure that your general fund / your CRA trust fund are fiscally healthy and improve is the bottom line. Because at the end of the day, it really is about investment, and it's about getting that private sector investment in that translates into revenue to you. Any city that isn't having revenue coming in is eventually going to have a problem. They're going to end up having to raise the millage rate. Taxes are going to go up for residents. And the goal is to balance that growth, good growth, solid growth, and healthy growth with making sure that you have economic income coming into your city. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here to really dig a little bit deeper. Like I said, in terms of talking about some of the clients that we've worked with before, but it's the how. And I do have to give kudos to the city of Dania. You all have really, if I go back to years ago and a decade ago, even 15 years ago, from where you were to where you are today, you've already laid a very, very strong foundation. Everybody passed Dania by from the private sector for many, many years. You had a CRA director back in the day, Jeremy Earl, that was very aggressive about trying to bring private investment in, and you did some very key things from your CRA extension and expansion that we did the finding of necessity. We rewrote your plan back in the day, I'm going over a decade ago. You did your zoning and some of your land use changes, and you started to put the foundations in with your programs and get your CRA functioning. Those all are very, very important foundational things, but you got to go to that next step now, because the private sector now and the competition around you is trying to get them to invest in their city. So in the examples that I'm going to give you, many of you know Oakland Park, we're all from South Florida, so we know that city, and they were in a similar position years ago where there was just nothing there. It isn't that Funky Buddha opened up. It isn't that then Funky Buddha created a brand, and it isn't that then new businesses started to come in. Then they moved their city hall over to another site. It's what was it that created that momentum in the first place? And that's what we will dig for you, and that's what we're going to look for. If your major corridors and your US ones and your Dania Beach Willows, if your major corridors are one of your goals to improve, we can't just go say, hey, business, come here because Dania's pretty. Dania's next to Fort Lauderdale. That won't work. You have to dig that next layer deeper. In this case, this city didn't have a hospital, so there were no lawyers nearby. There was no courthouse, so the lawyers weren't coming. It wasn't on the beach, so there was no tourists. You have to dig and find it. We found out that they had a very, very strong culinary/kitchen element to it that made it a foodie destination. We put that out there. I'm going to give you the edited version, but that is what laid the foundation for Funky Buddha coming. Yes, we changed the zoning. Yes, we did all the things, carrot and stick, to get it to work. But the key was we identified what it was that was going to get that city to work. That's the message that I wanted to convey tonight. Those are the things that we're going to be working with you on over the next couple months to really make sure that we can go to that next step. Northwood Village, same thing. This was a business district up in West Palm Beach. They had a very strong business presence from the marine industry, but they were manufacturing things for Marines. And that was not necessarily the direction the city wanted for that part of the town. So the goal was to transition it over into something that was more exciting, but keep the marine industry. You have a marine industry. What are we going to do with it? Again, we can't just say, well, let's expand. Let's get another marine business. Dig deeper, and we'll help you identify how to take that example and make it bigger and better. Another one was Green Acres. I'll pass Green Acres just for the sake of time, but all of these cities that we have helped move to a next level really had very specific things that they wanted to do, but it's how you get there that's going to be key. And again, we'll spend a lot of dialogue on that. We've run a lot of rewards and recognitions, again, because I think we take the time to get to know our city's goals and where you're trying to go. If it's something that we don't think you'll be able to get there, we'll be honest with you. We're not going to tell you things just because it's something you want to hear. But we do want to understand where you want to go, how to get there, and really make sure that it works for you. So you all contracted with us to do an operational analysis report. Okay, what is that? In general, there is no part of your city and market that we won't be looking at. I already mentioned we're going to look at your real estate market. We have to understand the financials of your current operation in your CRA and your general fund to a degree. We have to understand everything about the private sector and what's making them tick or not tick to come in to your city. And then we also know that there's some real important components of your city, everything from your marine industry, your corridors, your arts and entertainment district, some of those things that you've already got the ball rolling, but how do we pull them together and then go to that next step? So we'll just come full circle on all of those things that are either in place or that you want to put into place. Including the things that really identify you as a city. You're known already as a lot of things. You have your antique district. And again, what are you going to do with that? Is it a brand that you keep? If you're going to modify it, how? We can't just say we're going to change it. So what we would do is incorporate those things that identify you today that you want to keep and the things that you want to add to it. And that all of a sudden starts to build a very, very strong message to the private sector. We've all read the news. We know that there's a tremendous amount of influx coming from the Northeast and other parts of our city. How we do that, how we attract them, what kind of businesses and the kind of activity you want to see here will largely depend on how you're perceived. So all of the baseline of real estate and foundational stuff is one thing, but taking it to your identity and packaging that and getting it out there is the other. So again, we haven't started work yet. I just wanted to take a few minutes to just kind of lay that foundation of how we do what we do. But more important is just give you a clear timeline of what's going to happen between now and the time we're finished, and then what comes next. We will go ahead and start work immediately. In a minute, Lorena will tell you where we're at as far as already hitting the ground running. But it's, again, between now and let's say October, it's everything I just mentioned, from the analysis, making sure we understand your situation, where you want to go, et cetera. And then the combination of putting those things in place for you to move into implementation. It isn't just a plan that sits on a shelf. We do strategic action plans where we really analyze what's in your way and how can we get it out of the way, or where do you want to go and how do we get you there. October, November, depending on timing and your schedule and when you have your CRA board meetings, we will come in and we will do a finding presentation with you, talk through what the recommendations are, which you will have already discussed them, one-on-ones. And then we do have to work around one thing. I don't know if you all are going to be attending. Florida Redevelopment Association Conference is in West Palm Beach this year. I think it's 14, 15, 16. It's that second week or so of October. And your board meeting is overlapping. Miss Ledesma is going to get married in Spain, so she will be out the first week of October. So we want to make sure that in October we plan ahead and pick a date that works for you, but also that your project manager and us can attend, working around the FRA conference. Now, the next part is the hard part, and that is in November. We can talk through all this, we can lay it out, we can tell you here's how you can get where you want to go over the next 1, 5, 10 years. You have to move to implementation. My business partner and I wrote a book. It's called Reinventing Your City, which we're going to donate them to you as part of our contract with you. And you already have the first 3 or 4 parts down pat. You've got a vision of where you want to go generally. You have tremendous leadership. The fact that we're here, the fact you're bringing this discussion to the table, the fact you want to move forward, you have a very dynamic city manager and assistant city manager / CRA director. You have an internally good team inside City Hall. But what we really look at then is if you have good leadership and you have a vision and you have a plan, more or less, and you have a good team, the next step is usually where cities drop the ball, and it has to do with implementation. They just don't put the pieces in place to implement it. We will look at all of that. We will tell you precisely what you'll need to do to implement it, and then it's up to you to do it. Our work will be done then. We can assist you going forward, but that's my one suggestion is let's pay a lot of attention to that next step, because you have to have those boots on the ground. You have to be committed to doing the hard, heavy lifting of the things that you need to do, and you have to move through that implementation. The other 2 important things are the private sector and making sure that they hear you and come in and they're your partners in this without taking advantage, because you don't want to have growth that folks aren't comfortable with. And then financial. We will come full circle in this discussion. We will pay a lot of attention to your fiscal health, both at the city and the CRA, because that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, your taxpayers don't want you to raise their taxes, and the only way to avoid that is you have to have healthy growth. So sometime in November, we'll transition out of this phase, and then that's a relatively short period of time to do this, but it's because you are that far along that we're going to be able to package that pretty quick for you so that you can move to that next step. We, like I said, we're more than happy to give you a copy of the book. We invite you to contact us. We don't have formal one-on-ones established with everybody. Our phones are open. Just call us if you have a thought, or hey, I thought of this. Listen, I really think you got to pay attention to that. Did you know this is happening? Those are important things, that we need to hear. And on that note, I'm going to ask Lorena to give you a quick recap of where we're at. We are going to hit the ground running, and then happy to answer any questions you have after she gives you a quick status report.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Well, I've got to say I'm doubly excited, and because not only do I love what I do and taking a look at Dania Beach and what's got going on. We've got that lined up, but I'm also an Olson Middle School alum, so I've got to say I'm back with a different perspective, but definitely all the more motivated and enthusiastic for championing Dania Beach. So as far as where we're at, we've got meetings lined up with Calvin Giordano over at the Downtown Streetscape project. That'll be next week. We'll be meeting with the developers and their level of involvement. And additionally, I've already begun gathering the governing documents. So that's something we're collecting, we're gathering information, just taking a look at all that's going on currently, but ready to dig deep. And otherwise, just looking at how we can continue to support the community initiatives that already are in place and how that can be advanced some more. So then, as Kim mentioned, I'll pass out some of these books. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to address one issue that you've had, because you hit the nail on the head at the end where it says, we've gotten this vision, we've gotten this plan, and then at the implementation point, because I feel like I've been through 2, maybe even 3 of these visioning processes, and we have a lot of information that we've gathered. The commission has given very specific, detailed information. Thank you so much. And I will read this. But at some point in time, the actualization of everything, and I think we're doing pieces here and there, but it's not like a full implementation. And so I just want to know what you do differently to ensure that. I mean, you did kind of go over it with the financial piece and things like that, but I have been here, I feel at least 2 to 3 times going through this visioning process and things. So if you could address that a little bit, and I appreciate your presentation because it was very thorough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an excellent question. What I don't want to leave on the table is that we're going to start from scratch with this vision. You all did that. You actually laid a very good foundation over a decade ago, and you've been doing it. What happens is you implement pieces of it, and then it slows down and you stop. And then you might do another few pieces and then you stop. That's normal, actually. A lot of cities do that, but you're at that phase again where you have to take the things that are already there, that you've already done the vision, you know where you want to go, you already have your assets that are there, your marine industry, your art and entertainment, you have assets that are there. It's packaging them in an operational analysis. That's why we're calling it that, not a vision plan where we're going to come and tell you something new necessarily. We might identify a few things that you didn't have, but it's really, what are you doing operationally that we've analyzed that you need to do this to go implementation full bore? And that's where I think your management was spot on in saying that's our missing link. And so it's going to be everything from your resources, from internal resources, staffing resources, external resources, financial, how are you paying for things or not? Is there more money out there? Where is it? How are we going to get it? What are we going to build? What's it going to cost? It's packaging all of that into an implementation plan. Then you're going to have to move into implementation.
Thank you for that clarification. That was very, very helpful. Okay. Commissioner Romoli?
Kim, back in the day when RMA was in Dania Beach, did you do an assessment at that time, much like you're going to do this time?
We were hired a few times back. I'm going back to 2008-9. I mean, quite a long time ago, and then even into 2012-13. A couple of things. One, we were here during your CRA expansion, because one of the things that was the challenge was you had Jeremy Earl here, and there was a very strong drive to implement programs. But even though your corridors were a target, the desire at the commission at the time was to have that expanded place because the residential areas and other things needed to be brought into it. And then we also knew that there was going to be activity starting up along 95. So that was the first thing, was getting the expansions there. The other assessment that was done was on your assets. We did look at your marine industry back then. There was actually quite a few recommendations. I already talked to Jeremy and said, give me the background of where you kept those plans. They weren't implemented, not all of them. I'd like to go back and find them and find out why. So yes, there was vision, there was assessment, and there was a lot of CRA foundational stuff done. But some things you all already did. You got some residential developments in. Those were on the plan. So yes.
Okay.
The reason I asked that question is if you were going to take what you learned back then, or at least recommended, and determine whether those ideas would still work today. And because there could have been that, like you said, drop the ball, we didn't fulfill or didn't go through that process of making that happen. I would just be curious to see what was laid out then that is going to be reassessed this time. So
It's a very good point, actually, and Lorena mentioned it. We're pulling all your documents right now, and we're going to go back to see what wasn't implemented, why. There might have been a valid reason that something didn't happen, or you changed, or something changed. You know, we're not in a bubble here. We've got the real estate market, we've got the financial market, politics, everything is working either for or against where you're trying to go. But there are things that are probably back there that we can pull back in and revisit them without reinventing the wheel.
thank you, Kim.
Chair, I also want to add that Kim and her business partner, Chris, were the ones that brought Lucky Fish originally to Pompano Beach, and they also recommended to Lou, the owner of Lucky Fish, to submit to our RFP when we put it out. So they have a lot of relationships with businesses that are currently not in Dania Beach, might not even be in the state of Florida, that depending on the industry, such as ours is marine and retail and beach, they'll be able to have discussions and present our city to them to see if they are interested.
Well, you know, that makes me extremely happy. So
Yes.
we love Lucky Fish. I think we all do, and that's been a huge hit for all of our residents and everybody around. So we look forward to it and working with you and getting all those assessments done and implemented in the operational analysis, and so we can move forward in a better direction together. Thank you for your presentation. Is that all, Executive Director? Okay.
Thank you all
both.
very much.
And up next, we have item 5, the consent agenda. Does the board wish to pull any items from the consent agenda? Vice Mayor?
Chair, pass 5.1 and 2.
I have a motion from Vice Chair. Board Member Llewellyn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from from Commissioner. Board Member Llewellyn. I'm on vacation in my mind. All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, it passes unanimously, the consent agenda. Item 6, we have no proposals or bids. Item 7, we have no discussion or possible action items. Item 8, we have no information items, so we will move on to board member comments, and we will keep with Board Member Llewellyn.
Just one quick question. I know we had talked about having some sort of a workshop to talk about the properties, but is that's going to be combined with city properties as well? Do you know?
I hear the first part.
We had talked about having a workshop to discuss the CRA
Correct.
properties.
That's all city CRA properties.
Okay, and do you know when that's going to be taking place? I'm assuming sometime after the recess.
After the summer break, absolutely.
Okay, sooner rather than later though, because they're still sitting there. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Llewellyn. Board Member Ramoli.
No comments, thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Ramoli. Board Member Ryan.
Thank you, Chair. Great meeting. Looks like we made the time. It's great to see the facade grant program really amplify right here in this one with 4 new facade grants. We really stepped it up there. You know, to hear that we have 29 homes done already, right? And getting to 40, that's awesome. I think we're hitting all of our goals right here that we've set initially as the CRA. I think we're doing a good job. You know, I know that government's always for data. So in this firm that we've worked with before, so I like the presentation. I just don't want it to look like we're passing the buck always. You know what I mean? We just switched over the CRA under city management, and now we're looking for more analysis, you know, from an outside source to tell us what makes our city special to people that live in the city. But I get it. I understand hiring an outside consultant and going off of their data. But, you know, great meeting. Great to hear about Dan Marino Foundation. Very excited about Guy Harvey. Thank you very much. Looking forward to the meeting coming up.
Thank you, Board Member Ryan, Vice Chair.
Oh, sorry, no comments.
Oh, you gotta have some levity. This is the last CRA meeting before the summer session, so if I don't see some of you, have a good summer break, and thank you, Board. Meeting adjourned.